I thought I was gonna get away with this. Like, I didn't know the direction of this episode, and I thought I was gonna go away being like, oh, this is fun, this is interesting, like I can like at least like justify my kink and like my attraction for these fictional men. But I guess that's not what Felicia had planned, and now I have to like deconstruct further my ideas of love and attraction.
Hello, and welcome to the first ever Minisode of the Gifted Child Symposium, the podcast in which we turn our hyperfixations into content that we impose upon our friends and family members. In this episode, for a change, we are discussing something that I'm certain that everyone has been exposed to, and that is the broody male love interest. I'm Felicia.
And I'm Eugene. Everyone has been exposed to?
I think everyone has been exposed to it. Like, everyone's seen or been exposed to Twilight.
Okay.
This is what I mean. Like, our last episode was about musical episodes of TV. I just think you have broody male love interests in musical episodes of TV, but you don't often see the other way around.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
There's an overlap.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome indeed to the first ever minisode of our podcast. And usually we co-write the scripts and the outlines for and brainstorm our episodes together as a collective shared brain cell. But this time we decided to play around with format a little bit, very much inspired by a fave podcast of ours, A Bit Fruity with Matt Bernstein. Because today we're going to be discussing the broody male love interest. You know the ones: Edward Cullen, Rhysand from ACOTAR, the Mr Darcys of every romance genre possible.
Not Dorian Gray. What's his name? Christian Grey.
Sorry, Dorian Gray is like crazy.
I forgot. It's same last name. Christian Grey.
It's true. The picture of Christian Grey.
The picture of Christian Grey. 50 Shades of Dorian Gray. Correct. Continue.
We've all been exposed to them. They're everywhere. They're honestly what I seek to kind of like untangle is, why is this character almost the default of male love interest in popular media and unpopular media for that matter? So the context here: I read a lot of romance. I deal with a lot of popular romance within my work, and I thought it'd be fun to use Mijin as like my guinea pig. It's not that, anyway, we're gonna get into this, but it's not that Mijin hasn't been exposed to any of this, but I thought it'd be fun to have her react to some of the more contemporary examples of this trope and see what happens, really. So this might be a bit chaotic, bear with us. I think it'll be fun. But yeah, let me just vaguely introduce why I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot because, as I say, romance and romantasy and all those genres of fiction have like been really, really prevalent in my line of work. I work in publishing, and also just my own general reading interests. I've been reading a lot of romance. I want to say like my own childhood obsessions also definitely overlap with this sort of general trope. Like, I loved me some broody men in like Edward Cullen. Like, I ate that up. I loved, like, I was a Gale versus like, you know, like I shipped Gale and Katniss for a little bit. I've always been drawn to this trope. I do find it attractive. Not in every example of it, but I do find it attractive. And then more recently, I watched Pride and Prejudice 2005 in the cinema for the 20th anniversary, and I was like, Mr. Darcy, it really is the 19th century version of Rhysand from ACOTAR. Let's discuss. So that's why it's been on my mind, and that's why that's been a recent hyperfixation of mine. Mijin, do tell us, as a certified wooloo, what are your thoughts on this trope? Do you vibe with it? Do you have a favorite broody man?
Yeah, I mean, I am a woolawoo. I self-describe as a lesbian, and I only like men who are fictional. But the fictional men I like are often broody. Love Mr. Darcy. My cat is named after him. Edward Cullen. I just love, and it does overlap, and I think it does overlap with my taste in women. I love man who can't express feelings but only expresses with girl. Like, I think that's like kind of the uniqueness of like, yes, you're different with me, and you get to be, what's the name? Like, yeah, like emote. You get to emote with me in bed. Yeah. Hot. But yeah, for broody, yeah, I love Mr. Darcy. I was gonna say for the thing that Felicia got me into, Bone Season. He's probably my favorite.
We will discuss. We will discuss.
I think it's the kind of like hyper mask that is hiding baby girl energy. There we go.
Yes, love. Okay, perfect. I have always thought that, thank God, Mijin only dates women because she has the most questionable taste in men.
Oh yeah, you can keep that. That's we were talking about Now You See Me earlier in our call as friends, and she, like, Felicia said this like 5 years ago or something, when I said Mark Ruffalo specifically in Now You See Me season 4, and that's the first time you said, I'm so glad you're gay.
Yes.
I don't know if he's broody there, but yeah, very questionable taste.
In men, specifically.
In men.
Yeah.
Though fictional.
They can't hurt you.
They can't hurt me, and if they do, I like it.
Anyway, this is exactly why Mijin is the perfect person to talk about with this, because it truly is like, what is it about these men that are so attractive and hot in theory, but, and I think universally it's agreed that if any of these men did any of these questionable things in person to you, you would be like running away.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about this trope that is so popular but is so only hot in theory?
My sexuality. Men hot in theory. Also, yeah, it reminds me, I think there was like it was a YouTube channel, like an article flowing around when 50 Shades of Grey was really popular. That was like psychologist lists all of the kind of like psychopath red flags, like narcissistic thing, like underlines in the books of like controlling, like again, narcissistic, manipulative, and it's like, yeah, but it's hot in theory.
Yeah.
Anyway, refer back to Forever to ContraPoint's vampire episode. For hot in theory and why we like it. But yes, continue.
Hot in theory, correct. Anyway, so once again, referring to A Bit Fruity with Matt Bernstein, I'm gonna do what he often does in his episodes, which is the reverse funnel. Let's start with some like specific pop culture examples, and then widen that out to a hopefully potential more societal analysis of a more wider phenomenon is the goal. Yes.
I like this.
So, to begin with, I wanted to introduce you to the wonderful world of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which you haven't read, and I don't know if you know much about.
I haven't read. Every single time a girlie explains it to me, I block it out. Like, multiple people have. No, I still don't fucking understand it.
Yeah. So, I've fully read all of the books in the ACOTAR series. I haven't touched the... I guess it's a spin-off technically, like the Crescent City series. It's apparently all of Sarah J. Maas's books are set in the same universe. I choose to ignore that because frankly I don't care. I don't consider myself a huge ACOTAR fan. I did enjoy the books. The first one honestly lost me a little bit, but I did enjoy it overall. But I wanted to talk about ACOTAR because I think it's just by far the most well-known and biggest example of this trope at the moment. And I think because of how big it is, and it has been for the last, like, it's taken off obviously in the last 5 years, but like in the last 10 years since it was published, it has really like become its own genre, and like people are modeling this trope on, like, it is the benchmark. So quick world building for you, Mijin, and anyone else who's listening to this who hasn't read these books. So I'm gonna stick to the basics here because frankly you don't need to know too much about the actual politics and magic systems and all of that. But what you need to know is that the main character is a human girl. I want to say she's like 22. She's not very old. She is human to begin with, but she becomes a fae, like a high fae, by the end of the first book. Her name is Feyre. I think all these names are Welsh, which is a whole other issue, but like anyway. We don't stan Sarah J. Maas as an author. But anyway, so Feyre, her love interest in the first book is the High Lord of the Spring Court. So Fae, and he rules the Spring Court. There's many courts. There's an Autumn Court. There's a Winter Court. There's a Day Court. There's a Night Court, etc. You don't have to care about any of this. Spring Court is exactly what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And her love interest for the first book, which is Beauty and the Beast retelling, is the High Lord of the Spring Court. His name is Tamlin. Then, by the second book, by the very beginning of the second book, I should mention, after all of that they do to be together, it is revealed that, or it is, I don't know, we find out that Tamlin is actually a overprotective coward. And so the main love interest for the rest of the series, and like what becomes Feyre's endgame, is the High Lord of the Night Court, Rhysand. Rhys for short. Again, all of these names are Welsh. So I thought it'd be fun to introduce you to Rhysand, because you don't know anything about him, by sending you the first couple of descriptions we get of him in the book. So I just want you to read this out loud for me.
Great. Also, I already blocked
you. That's okay. That's okay.
Disassociated so hard. But I like that he's from the Night Court.
Exactly.
Tell me he's broody and dark. He couldn't be from the Day Court.
No, he had to be from the Night Court. And this will be relevant as well later. This is the first time Feyre ever sees Rhysand. This is also before she gets together with Tamlin. And she just sees him out of the blue. And
I quote from something. Standing before me was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. Okay. Everything about the stranger... The thing is, sorry, end quote for a second, parentheses. I read this for free in fan fiction, but knowing that this is on print is crazy. Okay. Everything about the stranger radiated sensual grace and ease. High fae, no doubt. His short black hair gleamed like a raven's feathers, offsetting his pale skin and blue eyes so deep they were violet even in the firelight. They twinkled with amusement as he beheld me.
End quote.
Radiated sensual grace and ease? What does that mean?
So this is the thing I get with Sarah J. Maas as a writer in general. She has these very vague vibe descriptors that I feel like she loves phrases like, he gave me a purely male expression. What does that mean? It's like meant to be like horny.
Purely male. And also... But also, sensual grace and ease, it's giving he's pretty. I don't know, his short black hair, raven's feathers offsetting his pale skin and violet eyes. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
an elf. Anyway, it doesn't sound like huge, like, manly man. He's, like, gorgeous.
This is, like, our introduction to Rhysand. He is just really fucking hot. Like, she is so unbelievably attracted to him. And keep in mind that this isn't like the love interest of the book that this is from. Like, we don't fall in love with Rhysand until like probably halfway through book 2. But I just wanted to like say that this kind of mirrors a lot of like what you like. Bella's first descriptor of Edward in Twilight is also like, he's so hot, he's like otherworldly, he's crazy. Anyway, this is the first time Feyre meets Rhysand, and she doesn't know who he is yet. And then later on, he comes back in her life, and we get this more contextualized description of him, which I also would like you to read.
Rhysand approached Tamlin, each movement smooth as silk. His voice dropped into a whisper, an erotic caress of sound that brought heat to my cheeks. What a pity that you must endure the brunt of it, Tamlin, and an even greater pity that you're so resigned to your fate. You might be stubborn, but this is pathetic. How different the High Lord is from the brutal war band leader of centuries ago. End quote for him. Lucian interrupted. What do you know about anything? You're just
Amarantha.
You're just Amarantha's whore? He's happy. So Rhysand is a whore of someone else. Okay. And then he responds, her whore I might be, but not without my reasons. I flinched as his voice wetted itself into an edge. At least I haven't bided my time among the hedges and flowers while the world has gone to hell.
Right.
So he fucks.
What do you think about this description? We don't know anything about Rhysand at this point. We know that he's quite powerful. And that's pretty much it.
No, this is insane. Smooth as silk. You made me realize how the broody thing is really not about... I guess it is like a different type of masculinity. Such a crazy description. I don't know what to make of it, but the idea that he's like proud to have fucked and then smooth as silk and erotic caress as the sound of his voice. It sounds like you're just describing like Fabio. Just like inherently sexual through existing.
This is like, I kind of feel like a general trope when it comes to these guys. Like, they are kind of like inherently sexy from the get-go. Like, you don't know anything about them, but they radiate whatever it is the main character finds very, very sexy, and like unlike other men, let's say. I will give context for this passage because, and Feyre doesn't know this at this point, she thinks that he is a ruthless, like heartless, callous monster who rules the Night Court, and the Night Court is this horrific place where there are no morals and everyone's a terrible person. So that's like what we're told from like the first book. And Rhysand is referred to as Amarantha's whore because he has been like kind of like her like plaything for the war, the war that's going on so far. It is later revealed that Rhysand is actually an incredibly noble and kind-hearted and fair leader, and he was actually only letting Amarantha use him as like her plaything to distract her from like genociding his people, basically.
He's using his dick to avoid
it's
war?
Kind of incredible. More like she was punishing him by like humiliating him by making him like serve as her.
Hello? That's Warden.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so interesting because Warden also has the thing of like, it's this exact same thing, right? Of like he like his fake relationship with like the big baddie, female baddie, as like penance, and that we think he's an ally of the baddie, but actually he's, I don't know, getting a soul. Like, I don't know, like it's like like being sexual and being in a romantic thing is like his punishment.
Yeah. He's actually like, he hates himself for it, and he like finds himself abhorrent, and he hates the role he has to play. That's Rhysand's deal.
Very quickly, is this like we shame men for having a sexuality? Because I'm into that. Like, they're actually inherently sexy, but the only time they've been sexy with evil is for good, and they hate it.
It's I don't know if that's necessarily the vibe, but that is a fair point. In that, he's meant to be this like completely noble person, right? So for him to like put on this persona is like a really hard thing for him, and that's what's hot about it. Like, he is so selfless. He would debase himself in this way to protect his people.
Maybe are girlies just attractive to morals?
Let's discuss. Let me continue. So basically, like, another thing to know about Rhysand, and I think this trope in general in contemporary like 2020 romantasy, Rhysand is the lord of the High Lord of the Night Court, which means that he has like thematically appropriate powers. He can like mind read. He specifically wields shadows. Like, he can create night out of nothing because he's whatever. And this shadow daddy thing is such a overused. I can think of like 3 others like in like very, very, very popular romantasy. So you'll have heard of Fourth Wing, which is like the dragon book. So the main love interest there, Xaden, he also controls shadows. I know.
Fuck ass names.
And then get ready for a fuck ass name. So in Quicksilver, which is another big romantasy book, Kingfisher, yes, like the bird.
I kind of like, I respect Kingfisher the way I respect like Primrose Everdeen. I don't respect Xaden. Like,
yeah, no, that's fair. Xaden is crazy. Anyways, Kingfisher and Quicksilver also wield shadows. Why? No one knows. It's just a thing now. Like, people do just wield shadows when they're meant to be kind of like morally corrupt, but secretly they're a goodie. Like, it's just a thing. I will say, like, yes, Rhysand, Xaden, Kingfisher, all these people like are probably the most well known, but I think probably one of the first instances of this trope is from Shadow and Bone. The Darkling wields shadows. I will say, like, in Shadow and Bone, like, he isn't like a misunderstood, you know, like he's just genuinely a baddie in Shadow and Bone. But I will say in Shadow and Bone fanfiction, he is a misunderstood broody character, because of course he is. Anyway, this is our whistle-stop tour of ACOTAR and Rhysand. Let's move on to something you do already know about, which is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which is, I'm putting in here as my gold standard for this broody male love interest trope.
Yes.
You already know The Bone Season, but I'm going to explain roughly what it is for listeners who haven't come across it, because it is a lesser known series. The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. Samantha Shannon has written The Priory of the Orange Tree, which did go viral on TikTok, and a lot of people know her for this work. The Bone Season is her like fantasy dystopia series, which she was first published in like 2013. It's still going. We're waiting on book 6. It's been a long time. The Bone Season is set in an alternative future in which clairvoyants, people who have a special connection with the spirit world, are made illegal. Like, it is illegal to be clairvoyant. And there's like a dystopian authoritarian regime in the UK, which are like secretly operated by this otherworldly, like fae-like, let's say, like they are immortal, powerful beings. this race of creatures known as the Rephite.
Who I've never said that word out loud, so I assume it's that.
No, I never listened to the audiobook either, so I don't know what it sounds like. Anyway, the main character of this book series is called Paige Mahoney. She is a young Irish clairvoyant who is part of a crime syndicate in London before she is captured and sent to a penal colony in Oxford, where she meets Arcturus, who is our broody male love interest in question. Arcturus, as we've kind of hinted at, is a high-ranking Rephite who is like the blood consort of like the leader, basically. That's all we really need to know. We think from the beginning, because he's part of the regime that captured Paige, that he is a baddie, but it is revealed that he actually had previously led a failed revolution and was still sort of suffering the consequences of being caught. And he's also like secretly plotting another revolution. So a goodie in general. So let me send you the description from Paige's perspective of Arcturus before we get to know him. And I will say what I love about Samantha Shannon is she does do the romance in this book a lot more organically, I would say, in my opinion, than like ACOTAR. It's like a lot more drawn out, a lot more, like, as I say, organic. That being said, there are a lot of similarities in this first passage about Arcturus compared to what we just read from Rhysand. So, me, Jane, will you do the honors?
One of them was looking at me. He must have been examining me for some time. His gaze cleaved straight to mine, as if he had been waiting for me to look, watching for a flicker of dissent. His skin was a warm dark gold, setting off his flaming eyes. He was the tallest of the Refime? I don't know. With brown hair, short and roughly cut. A strange aura enfolded him, overshadowed by the others in the room. He was the single most beautiful and terrible thing I had ever laid eyes on.
Yeah.
Beautiful and terrible is quite good.
Yeah.
Because the most beautiful man I've ever seen is like, okay, whatever. I need to immediately say, favorite thing about this is that it's not pale skin, dark eyes. Like, I think I like that the reframe, whatever, because they're a different species, like a whole different like creature. What if they weren't white? And that was also hot. They're literally golden. I love that. But he's like 7 feet tall. He's generally a giant.
He's so tall.
Like a small giant.
But it's okay because Paige is like 6 feet as well.
Yeah, but I need to like add that to the description. He is like, all of the Rephaim are so tall. Like, yes, he's broody. He has rough cut hair and glowing brown skin. He's so tall. Like, she gets to his like navel, I swear to God. So that is like a whole other kink thing. You girlies go read it if you're into that.
Oh, truly. I will say about the skin color thing, so Rhysand, he's described as pale in the first book because he's been trapped, quote unquote, under the mountain. Like, they refer to like the stronghold as the mountain, and he's literally been under it for like however, like hundreds of years as part of this war. And then in the second book, once he's free, he returns to his natural skin color, which is meant to be more tan. But I take gripe with that because he's the High Lord of the Night Court. I feel like if anyone was supposed to be pale, it'd be him. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah. And also Xaden.
And again, it's not like a... It makes sense. Same with Edward Cullen. Like, he has to be like marble white. It's just, you know. Yeah. Maybe not every single love interest has to be white as whole milk. Yeah. Like, I really appreciate that the Rephaim are hot in a brown way. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
Okay, continue.
Indeed. But yeah, I wanted to compare Arcturus to Rhysand because I think Arcturus clearly like fulfills many of the tropes that we see in Rhysand and like, you know, the more like generic romantasy love interest we've seen. He is noble to a fault. He's deeply loyal. He's also like, I think an important point out with Rhysand is like the most powerful High Lord to have ever existed. Similarly, Arcturus is like their most powerful warrior. Like for the rebellion, he's like really crucial. They're both like, in fact, in general, I feel like all of these love interests are in fantasy anyway, are like chosen one level powerful. Like they are singularly powerful and integral to like whatever movement they need. And like they stand, like even though they're part of this like kind of like otherworldly race, these love interests stand out amongst their own kind as well. And I think similarly to Rhysand, Arcturus will also let other people think that he is awful for the sake of like the greater good. And it's like that sort of like selfless, strategic mindset in general that I think is really hot, and I think that works. But yeah, I wanted to throw it back to you and be like, why do you think in both of these quite different book series, why do you think these are the tropes that we gravitate towards in terms of like a otherworldly male love interest? Why do you think it works? What are your thoughts?
Well, I have so many thoughts because I don't want to like steal the conclusion from you, but when you were saying like they're quite happy being perceived as evil in like such a like soft way, that's also Mr. Darcy. Like he's also protecting something. Like he's also protecting his sister. So it's like in this case they're all protecting something. They're all like leading a revolution. I don't know what the fuck Rhysand is doing, but you said like I know he was punished, but I'm sure he's doing good things.
He's like fighting the baddies. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So he's like, these broody love interests are like a way that the girlies can have it all because he is evil. Like he is like, you do get the hotness of the evil, like nonchalant, distant in a hot way, tall.
Yeah, Rhysand is also like 7 foot.
Yeah, there we go. From the straight girlies in my life, I have heard that and I guess congrats for this not being your thing, but from a lot of the straight girlies in my life, I've heard that they don't go for like conventionally attractive men. And like I guess in your case as well, it's like if a man is like a model with muscles, he is an asshole. Like and it's not about like he was born an asshole, it's about like how much what being hot lets a man do. So in this case, you get a incredibly attractive man who is an asshole. But like in a hot way. But then you discover that is all an act, which I think is what all straight women want. They want the perceived hot asshole dynamic to be an act, and underneath to have an incredibly moral, brave man. I forgot that Warden, Arcturus, whatever, the one season 1 was a warrior, because so much of the perceived strength that Paige focuses on is like he's like caring, he is like smart, he disarms people with his words, like he's very strategic politically, but then he like fights and kills people so hard. Like it's like you literally can't have it all. I guess with the otherworldly thing, I don't know. I don't know about that. I guess like obviously it's like when in romance, it's like it's just part of the appeal. Like it's not part of the appeal, part of the circus, like part of the thing. Like if you're gonna have a romance, a fantasy world with other creatures, you might as well fall in love for that creature. But may I say, is it because no human man can be like this? Isn't that too? Like we have to formulate a whole other species where this is possible?
Well, genuinely though, all of these men are like 1,000 years old or more.
Yes.
Like they have to mature.
Edward Cullen including. Like you get you get the wisdom, you get the hotness, and you get like
the superhuman strength,
the moral kind of 1920s situation.
Yeah, like,
I guess with Edward
like the
well.
real like I have like a duty.
Yes.
Like,
oh my god, you know that meme? Not meme. I guess it was an interview with the girl from the actress from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But you know the men used to hunt. Like you get the men used to hunt, and you also get them to be like politically like in the right side of history, and you also get them to be hot and kind to you. Yeah. Like you get all of it at once.
Yeah. While I was brainstorming this episode, I was thinking about how I feel like all of the, obviously this is just coincides with like us being teenagers, but I do feel like a lot of these examples, and including Pride and Prejudice, coincides with like this whole like strong female character thing, where all of the main characters are also like kind of like uniquely independently minded. Like Lizzie Bennet being
not Bella,
but that's okay. Stephanie Meyer's Mormon.
Everyone else.
Please listen to our first episode ever.
I was gonna say, but for that, listen to our most listened to episode,
which does explain it. But like I mean, the Fair in Feyre, whatever, in ACOTAR is very much like she single-handedly fed her family in the woods with her bow and arrow.
very Katniss coded.
Like Katniss, exactly. And then
Yeah.
I feel like Paige Mahoney in the Bone season is also
Yeah.
similarly like, you know, she has her independence, she has her own like career, and she is ultimately the main character in like a very real way. Like she is the spoiler alert for book 2, but she becomes like the mime queen, like she leads the underworld.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, like I feel like that would work less well with a Bella character, which is why Twilight is arguably a less balanced love story. But anyway,
Yes, that's true.
I just feel like there was like this like pop culture moment where suddenly the domineering male character worked in romance because from like a feminist perspective, from like a 21st century
Oh yeah,
perspective.
no, that's a good. Oh yeah, no, that's a good point, because if you are like, if you look at like, I guess, earlier examples, you can get away with him having no morals,
Yeah.
and having no principles because he's hot, or like this is just classical literature, like he does just Pamela you,
Yeah.
and like never let you leave, and that's just a story.
Yeah.
But now we still have those standards of like, I want him to be broody and a little bit dangerous, but he also should like care about my well-being, and maybe be like a principled man. So yes, like that's such a good point, that it's like this complexity of like the exterior versus the interior, the thing they put on and the thing they actually are, is like you get all the thrills of the toxic male interest without him being toxic, because you're hashtag a feminist.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a good time.
Right? We can have it all, ladies.
Yeah.
We kind of already like broadened out the picture a little bit, but I kind of wanted to discuss, do you think this is a straight thing? Like, do you think this manifests in queerer like love pairings? I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of Draco Malfoy in Hermione fanfiction versus Drarry fanfiction, because he
Oh, that's such a good point.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because in Hermione fanfiction, which I've read less of, admittedly, than Drarry, but it like I've read like, you know, the main ones. I've read Manifold, I've read Draco Malfoy and Mortifying Ordeal of Being 11 and all that, but he is a very different character to Draco.
Yeah.
And he kind of is the broody male love interest that we discussed, because he obviously, his whole thing is that his family are baddies, but he's like not, and he like in these fanfictions often become like this sort of like double agented coded.
Yeah. But he is way more toxic in Hermione.
Yes.
Like that gets more drawn out. Like I cannot overstate how much Hermione is like, Hermione's locked in the basement in the Malfoy manor, and he does torture her, but don't think about that because he's actually good, and through loving her he discovers he is gonna fight Voldemort. Versus Drarry is like, oh, like after the war, he like plays Quidditch one day and they fall in love in the Quidditch pitch, and like there's no, like there might be like a discussion of his like literal Nazi war crimes, but it isn't a key part of it in the way that it isn't Hermione. Hermione has the toxicity forward.
Yeah.
It's very toxicity forward.
I mean, admittedly, it's because his war crimes directly affect her.
He was the protagonist. Like, what you mean? Yeah, God. Oh, the Nazi undertones of it all. Yeah, but yeah, you're so right. I don't think, this is the thing, I unfortunately don't read enough Woolawoo stuff and enough queer stuff. Like most of, I obviously do, but I do feel like cumulatively throughout my life, all of the romantasy I've read is probably 95% straight. You know, like the big things that have impacted me, from Twilight to Hunger Games, that's it.
Yeah.
To Harry Potter. They're all like straight, and now I'm like, I don't know, like Red, White, and Royal Blue, like they don't have that.
Yeah.
I do think it is. You know why? Because again, it's like this fantasy of like, I think straight men still be toxic. I think is not a queer thing, because queer love has already examined and deconstructed these love tropes, and it's quite flexible with them. However, I do think straight people and straight love is still holding on to the idea of this is hot and this is attractive. So it kind of has to stick to, like, it unfortunately this trope is still incredibly heteronormative, where yes, she gets to be independent, he's still 7 feet tall, wall, muscular, powerful, politically powerful, like she's always like an underdog, you know, he's always had the power, so it is still very, very within the status quo of our current society in the way that I don't think queer romances are.
Yeah. Okay, this is interesting because I've been also thinking about how in, like, not romance, and especially not, like, stuff written by women, in stuff written by men, the attractive guys who you are, like, meant to find attractive, even for straight men, are also part of this trope, like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, and Geralt in The Witcher. You've seen none of these things, I assume.
Not the... Sorry, no, I've seen none of the shit, but I was gonna say not the, like, homoerotic nature of Tolkien.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, like, I mean, yeah, the idea of, like, men with, like, it's a very, like, common discourse in Twitter and stuff, or, like, Reddit, like, da-da-da-da, of, like, men, like, really care about finding other men hot. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, because, I mean, I was, like, Googling broody male characters or whatever, and I came upon a bunch of listicles that are, like, BuzzFeed, Stylist, whatever you want to call it, and most of them listed the examples I just listed, so, like, Aragorn, like Jon Snow, like, even, like, I feel like to some extent Han Solo to begin with, like, all of these things, like, we are meant to find these characters really hot, and they are written by men.
That's true.
And I don't know if that's where this trope comes from, like, this is where people are extrapolating from, but we're suddenly giving them, like, emotional depth.
More depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, I do wonder, like, is this broody male love interest situation how we are making men feel vulnerable and conflicted and tortured without making them seem weak, and that is, like, palatable to a straight audience, because that you need that power
to both sides.
Exactly, because you do kind of need that power dynamic for it to be attractive for men.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because like, this isn't men written by women, like, mullet, bisexual, chaos goblin, like, Gen Z. It's still very patriarchal. And like, I don't... Han Solo included. Han Solo, let's do Han Solo and what's the Bone Season thing?
Arcturus.
Yeah, like an Arcturus parallel. There is dominance, like, she's still being held against her will by this man. Like, there is still, like, even if you are like, if you have a redemption arc, or even if your cruelty is a way to achieve moral high, like, it's like a morally good thing, you are still, like, women are still have the what's the name, like, you're still dominating women. Like, you're still have the power in these relationships. Like, there is no loss of power for these men. There's just a way to justify that dominance for women.
Exactly. And I think, like, for instance, like, with Edward Cullen, with, like, all of these, like, not human girl relationships, there is, like, also the information imbalance where the human girl is obviously new to, like, whatever fantasy world they're being introduced to, and then there's, like, oh, you naive little girl, but, like, in, like, that's fair enough, she's never heard of, like, whatever imprinting before.
Yeah, information imbalance, but also, like, and again, thank you, ContraPoints, he is like, Edward is a different species, and he could kill her. Arcturus as well. There's, like, a whole thing of, like, you know, these big men can break her. Like, they have their life in her hands, or, like, the gun on her temple. Like, they still hold so much power over the woman. And I guess when it's written by women, like, we kind of justify as, like, they eventually become allies and da-da-da-da-da, but it still began as a very straight, like, power imbalance where the man has her whole ass life in his hands.
But in a hot way.
Oh, it's so sad. But in a hot way. And it's like, I don't want to shame anybody, because I do get it. Like, the wisdom thing, the old thing, the big man, the big man thing is all, I understand why and how it's hot. But I think when you and then enter these incredibly convoluted situations where we are kind of both justifying the patriarchy We're justifying men still having domination over women, but it's fine because they are morally righteous. Like, the situations are still fucked.
Yeah.
And it's not erotica. I know it's fantasy. Thank you, ContraPoints. It's not, but it is not erotica. It is still like a man we slowly fall in love with, but that we're still being held hostage or vulnerable to as readers, as female readers.
Yeah.
Wow, I've seen the light. That's so sad. Maybe I am gay. Fully.
Maybe it's for the best that you're gay, coming back full circle.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe the dominance of men is harmful, even if it's fictional. But yeah, you're right. The whole weakness thing, like, yeah, we give them like moral, even like we give them moral high ground and stuff, but there is no physical or even that much emotional weakness in these characters.
Exactly.
Written by men or women. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this special mini-sode of the Gifted Child Symposium. We hope you enjoyed and found this episode format interesting. We're trying to experiment with our episode formats more going forward, so please let us know if you have any feedback, topic ideas, and anything else you want to tell us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at giftedcs.pod. We'd love to hear from you.